1, 2, 1, 2. Hello. Hello, here we are. Once again, welcome to Molten Music Technology on this bank holiday weekend, on this Star Wars day. I really messed that up. I mean, it's a bank holiday. I should be sitting at home watching Star Wars, but hey, here we are. Here we are, all the better for it, no doubt. An opportunity to spend some time talking about music and technology and electronics and drink some beer and all those sorts of things. It doesn't feel like it's going to be a long one tonight because I don't have anything particularly to say, but I'm sure that things will arise and we'll talk about it and do those things that we do. If you've not been here before, you're very, very welcome. The idea is always to talk about the Molten Monthly just past, the gear that's come out and things like that, ideas and things and thoughts of the industry and technology and synthesizers and modular and stuff. However, we also tend to divert into all sorts of different things. Crazy ideas that I've just had, things I'm planning to do in the future, new madcap schemes to try to keep the channel afloat, that kind of thing. Sometimes we make some music, plug some things in and play those. I do have a couple of things we could play with. Certainly, we could do that. Yo, hi. Tell us more about how you're getting on with those new Create boxes. Oh, okay. I can do that. Where should I put that? Just going to do something with this microphone, which is a little bit in my face. God, I hate these stupid arm things. But it's the best working solution I've had so far. Hey, Robert. Hey, how you doing? I should say hello to more people before we get stuck in. Andrew, you've sort of diverted me straight into business, which is a bit odd. So, hi, everyone. Hey, good to see you here. Who was first? Peach was first. Good to see you. Nice. Hey, Steve. Hi, Ken. Bastian. Another Steve. My jumper's coming apart. That just sums it up at the moment. Andrew, you're a lot of you in there. Frank, good to see you. Thanks for dropping by. It's lovely to have all these lovely people here. Hi, Berlin. Hi, Netherlands. It's warm. Is it? Where? Where are you that it's warm? It's freaking freezing over here. Don't know what's going on. Hey, where do we get to? Yep. Ian, hi, good. Hi. Woo. Good. Lovely. Wow. New jumper fun. Thank you. I do. This is getting ridiculous. I mean, oh look, it's just come off. This was a good find. I was very pleased with this. I go through sort of zip up cardigans. I get through one every 10 years, I think. And this one has got to the end of its life. So yeah, I must find something very practical. I mean, but all of my clothes are falling apart currently because of the bleeding dog. It just, it's everything just gets shredded. Oh, more kick and snare, says Robert. Okay, so I have the boom chick here and I can tell you exactly some thoughts on it, which is that I've played with it for 5 minutes. So, and most of that time was trying to work out how do I get any sound out? Which is a thing. So we could play with it this evening. I would just say that drum machines are one of those particularly dull things just to play with when you don't know what you're doing with it, because you just get this continuous 16 step loop going round of percussion, never changing as you're trying to work out the next thing and the next thing and how you do that. So I don't know that that's particularly good telly, but maybe. I mean, my understanding of it so far is that you have kick and snare and you have 2 FM drums and then you have some hi-hats. The FM is analog FM, I think. You're just crashing a couple of things into each other and you've got some choices on what that is. That is more or less it. I couldn't work out whether I was sweeping up or sweeping down or how those things affected each other particularly, but you did end up getting interesting percussion sounds. I'm finding that the knobs on this one are crowded, and that's slightly off-putting at the moment. But, you know, it depends on how much you need to access and move them about, but they just are a little bit crowded in there. Unlike the mixer, which is actually better laid out, better spread. Those are my first impressions. I will get to this, do it properly, not till after Superbooth now. I've got like sort of 48 things to do before Superbooth, of which I'll probably get one done, I think. And I'm trying my best to get the Oscar Tria from Black and Blue, trying to do a video on that, because I tried my best to promise before Superbooth, and this is on the last straight now. So I will try to do that this week, although it's a flipping bank holiday, and then Superbooth starts on the Thursday, and it's like, oh, am I going to squeeze that in? The other thing I've got is the Jolin Rosa, which I've built but not tested because I just ran out of time. I had managed to find the time to build it, and then other things overtook me and I wasn't able to plug it in. So I haven't plugged it in yet, which is quite exciting. And it's like, I could do that, but on the other hand, I need to do the plugging in on video so I can build the video of the whole build and testing sort of thing. If you see what I mean. Do you see what I mean? That sort of thing. So this is probably going to knock around a little while now, which I'm really sorry about, because I've had it for ages and I've finally got to do it and I can't quite finish it. But I will. Scanwave Pass. Pot. Nice. Good. I've also got this to play with. This is the black EG2 from Erica Synths. Now, you may not know about this. You may not have any idea, but I was talking to Gertz, funny enough, at Erica Synths about the possibilities of collaborating on a module, because they are fantastic. And we were just sort of chewing over a few ideas. And I told him about this wonderful idea I had, this awesome idea about a gate variable envelope, because there doesn't seem to be one anywhere, and it's the sort of thing that you get on keyboard. So, for instance, I'm just going to talk about this now as it's in my head. On like the key step over here, you can see, pardon me, you have percentages for gate lengths. So when you set an arpeggiator or sequencer going, you can vary the gate length, and that's actually an interesting thing. You can sort of do the same with varying the decay or the release of an envelope, the voltage control envelope, but it's not the same. It's not the same as varying the gate length. And I felt that was something that was a bit missing. So I fancied doing a dual, because to me, envelopes should always be paired, because you're going to be using it on the amp and you're going to be using it on the filter. Probably, more likely than not. And rather than having to get two all the time and then try to molt up the triggers, if you could have a dual envelope in the same module that's normalized, that then had variable gate length, CV controlled gate length, I think that would be a wonderful thing. But Gert says, oh, we already do it. We've already got one. Yeah, it's great. And there you go. That's it. So I might try that out. Although there is only one. It's not a dual. It is only one. But there's me thinking I had an original idea, and no, it certainly wasn't. The other thing I've got here on the bench at the moment is a Monumatic, which, as I mentioned in my Molten Monthly, I did have it in here. But when I was doing the video on the patch I did for the gig a couple of weeks ago, this was not out yet, and so I had to take it out. And then I had an awful job getting the Polycinematic to work, because it's slightly complicated, more complicated than it needs to be. And I ended up having to sort of reset it, reflash the firmware, just because I couldn't work out what on earth was going on. And that did seem to sort things out. So, however, the Monumatic is that bit easy to use, I'm finding. So we could potentially have a look at that. I was hoping to do a video of that this week too, but I just don't think I'm going to have the time because of the bank holiday. See, I hadn't factored that in. Not that I factor much in. Oh, that goes all the way around. Hear that? Nice. So those are some things. Otherwise, perhaps I've got the Bitwig Connect audio interface down there. I could unbox that and we could have a poke at it. We won't install it. I don't think that's too much of a faff for a live stream. I don't know what I'd end up plugging it into, but might be interesting to look at. I've also got the Redshift here, which I keep getting set up and never quite getting to the point that I'm actually using it to any degree. So we're going to have a play with that, potentially. I've even got a camera set up, look. Kinda. Like that. Anyway, so I'll throwing those out as a few thoughts for this evening. And I have one other topic. So Robert's telling me that the FM is analog. Yep, no, on the Boom Chick. This is true, which is bloody brilliant, which is why it's a bit sad that the kick and snare are a bit blah. Interesting. I mean, I find that I'm finding this with analog drums, is that there's a certain element of disappointment in them, I think. In some ways, I think it's almost as if we like the idea of analog drums, but what we're always tend to be hearing is in our head, even when we're thinking back to something ancient, the kick and the snare tend to be samples. They do. In our heads, they end up being samples. So when you hear an analog thing, like for instance, I've got the Beat C and the Rhythm Me, whatever it is, from What's It, that's just over there at the moment because it's been doing a job for me. It's a good little drum machine, but again, those analog sounds, you just go, well, yeah, it's just not, the kick and the snare are just not as biting as kind of you want them to, but then that's analog. That tends to be how it is. Now, you can get a lot of boom out of an analog kick drum. I appreciate that, but it tends to be relatively soft, I think. So when you have an analog drum machine, I have this sense that it tends to be slightly disappointing initially until you start working with it and work your way in. That's a thought. What's up with the Deckard's Dream? I don't know. The Deckard's Dream is now a black hole in my mind. It's a fabulous thing. It's a fabulous idea, and it looks down upon us from a high shelf. I know that there are voicing and there are power problems that potentially I could fix, but I can't find the headspace for it. So it's one of those things that I have a number of sort of pet projects, which are great things to do. You should do that, which I just don't have the time for. And once I have my mysterious benefactor who just buys the next couple of years of my life to say, go and do and be creative. Here's a whole load of money so you can pay your bills. You don't have to worry about it. Here's your mortgage paid off and a new car. Once that happens, then that's one of the projects I can give my time to. I've got that. I've got the building of an incredibly dense DIY sequencer over there in a bag that Steve Davis gave me. That I really would love to get to. I've got an album to produce on the reel-to-reel over there, which I need to do, which is sat now in pause for probably 2 years. It's not done it any good, I don't imagine, but I want to endeavour to do that. That's another thing I'd like to do. So I have things I would love to do if I had the time. I'd like to clean out the shed over there and make that a little bit more presentable. I'd like to put some plasterboard in the summer house section over there so I could actually seal it off and potentially start thinking about renting this space out to people. As I say, madcap ideas in order to keep the channel afloat. That's idea number 78. Oh, look at this. I had a brilliant idea, right? Another one of my madcap ideas, which is to start building my own cases. Sort of. I'm looking at, this will all become clear at some point. But anyway, I punted on a lunchbox case like that. Isn't that beautiful? What a lovely thing. See, I thought that was a brilliant idea. Genius. I thought that's going to be genius. I can put some rails in there and it's a perfect little lunchbox Eurorack case. Ta-da! Except it's not. It's not. It's a terrible idea because you can't. You have to sit things down below the edge. Down below the edge. You can't have the knob sticking through because the lid isn't right. The lid goes all the way down. So it's completely crap. Now, while you could have stuff in there, the way that's going to be with the sides is just going to make it not work right. I don't think. You can try to put stuff sort of sunk in there and it sort of would work, but not really. Not really. I don't think so anyway. It would make it too difficult. You need to have stuff a bit proud. Or it needs to have enough of a rim around it in order to make that work. I don't know. Anyway, so I got it made and it didn't work. So there we go. But it's a good thing to put your sandwiches in. So well, there's the thing. Anyway, what are we talking about? So the Decker's Dream, yes, I would dearly love to finish it. I must do that. Must do that at some point. Hi, Tonal. I am drinking bloody beer. What are you talking about? I've got posh beer, the Birra Moretti. This was made in 1859, I have you know. I just have it at a safe distance. What? Okay, so I was just reading through some of the comments. A deep lid, is that possible? Yes. Yes. Let me show you. So I had another idea. Ooh. Because, once I have an idea, I sometimes go for it. So this, right? So this is following the same idea. So this is a little bit more protective for a mini system. And you can see the depth of the lid, right? And also the fact that it's full of foam. So if you put your module in here, assuming I can make a hole in the foam down here, you close the lid and it's going to be fine. I mean, it even closes with it not even. So something like this would work very well for a small system. And it looks like in here, I could probably get a row and a 1U row without too much bother. That's an interesting idea. Now, I've talked a lot about the possibility of renting out stuff. And these are this is all part of that thinking, that I'm trying to work out a useful, workable way of trying to turn all of this gear and stuff that people send me, turn that into something that's actually working for itself, or working and doing something to support the channel, because it's unused potential and creativity drives me nuts. And I would love people to be using this stuff, and I would doubly love that to be something which helps support the channel. So all these ideas are buzzing around, and in fact I'm at Superbooth. I should be picking up some other bits and pieces which are going to contribute towards this greatly. So, there's a momentum. There's a thing I'm trying to get off the ground, if only I can somehow make it work, and then find people out there who are willing to, or wanting, or can see that borrowing / renting Eurorack is a really interesting thing to do that they don't mind throwing money at. Who knows? Who knows with these things? You don't know until you try, and so that's what I'm doing. And usually I do these things without any reference to anybody else. So, no research, no market checking or interviews or anything. I just get on with it. I've been to Croydon. I don't know if I'd ever need to go back. How much can you achieve with a small setup? It's a really good question. It's something which sometimes I go back and look at my earlier videos and I'm amazed often at what I was able to do with a small amount of modules, because you would be pushed into doing interesting creative things with them. You'd be using an LFO as a sequencer because you didn't have a sequencer to fit in there, so you'd be using that through a quantizer in order to create notes and generate ideas and melodies, or you'd be using a sample and hold or something like that to do stuff with, and just small things with a basic voice and an interesting module like the maths or a Turing machine in order to generate stuff. And it can be really interesting. And that's the sort of angle I'm looking for. I'm looking at putting together small systems because, on the one hand, we're talking about this. Let's talk about it a bit more. On the one hand, one could rent out single modules. And I looked into that, and I even got as far as creating a bit of a database sort of website thing, a rental portal that people could rent modules. But the problem with that is the sheer logistical difficulties. That having to go to the post office every other day with another little box and sending that out and getting that back. The postage alone would drive me nuts. Having to do all of that, and then the fact that there's only one of each, and people would be fighting over who gets to borrow what, and then how much do you charge for all of that, and then having to deal with people's money coming in and out all the time. It was, and then keeping track of everything, going out, coming back, testing everything out. So to do it individually seemed like just too much of a paperwork nightmare. And then, you're such a variety in modules. You've got something that's worth 800 quid and something that's worth 100 quid. Are you charging 20 quid a time every time, and for how long? And, lots of things. Whereas what I'm thinking of now, what I've been developing for a little while in my head, is the idea of renting out little systems. So an entire system. Now, it may be that you've got one of the modules that's in the system, but the idea is to treat it as an instrument. So it's more than just a range of interesting modules. Hopefully it will be a complete system scaled down that's got some corkers in there, some really interesting bits and pieces, as well as utilities and the things you need in order to get it to make sound. And that you could take that and drop it next to your modular, patch it in, and do interesting things with it. And then that same system could find its way into different people's hands, and we could post videos about it and record patches, and there's a whole thing in there, man. Which I think could be great. It could be great. Could be a disaster, could get broken on, run over by a courier, could get stolen by the first person who rents it under a false name, who have spent the last 17 years putting down the breadcrumbs for this exotic persona that they've created just so they could come and then steal a bit of modular from me. Who knows? Stranger things have happened. So that is a current thread which is running through my head. But back to that original question. Yes, small systems are really good, are really interesting. When I'm reviewing a module, for instance, for Sound on Sound, I can show you the current system that I'm working on. Unplug that and unplug that. That work? Yeah. Oops. So this is the system that I'm currently working on in order to review the Rhythmy and the Beatsy, and also, funny enough, I've just been reviewing the Korg NTS3, and I used this to run it through. It's a sound source that I'm using the effects on. Simple as that. And this is actually far far simpler and easier and creative. And I can sit all day with this spinning around, doing just a couple of things, a couple of filter changes, a couple of melody changes. And it's great. It's good fun, and you get to learn these little bits. I don't need an entire, massive 2-case rig in order to just try out a few ideas and try some things out. So it can be good. I mean, this is 60 HP. 60 HP is a good number, I think. It's a good size in which you can have quite a nice little thing going on. What you probably lose, I would say, would be effects, because you've only got so much room, and that is a problem, which is why having a nice little external effects box like the Chaos Pad or the castle thing, the Bastel Castle or something along those lines, can be a really useful little addendum to this. I think. There's nothing secret on there, is there? No, good, right. Good. So yeah, when you see people with these massive cases, a massive swoop of a case, I think that can not always be the most helpful thing. I mean, I've got plenty of Modular, don't get me wrong, and it's all in bits and pieces hanging off the wall, but none of it is plugged in to be used. I like to keep things relatively close and simple, and then I agonise over the presence of each thing that's here. 60 HP with 1 U underneath. Well, maybe we'll see. Maybe. Mr. A, how do you like the little mixer from Pittsburgh Modular? Is it any good? The truth is, yes, it is absolutely good. It is a permanent resident. I love how the fact all my cables are red, so I've no idea what's plugged in where. Yeah, it's great. It's great. I like it a lot. I can give you the quick reasons why. First of all, it's all mini jack, so it's perfect for Eurorack and little desktop synths. Maybe not so much for desktop synths, but possibly. But I'm not having to worry about adapters and messing about. So that's a plus in my situation. So I'm using it. All of this is coming into here. I used to be using a DPW little mixer and other little mixers within my rack, but being able to take those out has freed up a little bit more space. So I've got a couple more voices in there, which is great, and some proper percussion, which is great. Why is my hand cramping up? Old age, I think it is. Yeah, so essentially audio mixing is just taking up a load of space. It doesn't need to be there, I think. So pulling that out has been really useful. Then being able to use the auxiliary sends means that I can use effects on everything. Because when I had it all built into one case, I was using a reverb on the master out. I mean, okay, so everything can go through the reverb. That's fine. But it doesn't really give you any choice on placement of individual instruments in that space. And then I had to have multiple delays so that everything that I wanted to use a delay could use a delay, if you know what I mean. Each one had to have its own one. Whereas using an auxiliary on this, I can just stick one delay on and route different things to it when I want that to happen. So that versatility is good. The on and offableness, the mute buttons on and off, yeah, good. They're useful. Having enough of stuff, being able to turn stuff up and turn stuff down. It really does work well in my situation of trying to control my Eurorack without a huge mixer, without something which has got masses of channel strips and EQs and all sorts of crap on it that I'm never ever going to use. This has on it what I will use. I will use every knob on here, but probably not even the EQ on the first two channels, because I don't know what do I ever use that for. You know, I tend to use a sound that sounds like it sounds, as opposed to using a sound which I'm then having to change into some other sound. Then I might as well use a different sound in the first place if I'm going to be fussing around with it. There's no consistency in what I do whatsoever. Bit of panning, that's also useful. The fact that there are stereo channels, that's useful. It's not all just mono, because I have a few stereo bits now which I like to keep being stereo. So yeah, it just ticks all the boxes every time. And even these slightly not in love with Create Audio knobs are not too busy. There's enough room between everything to get hold of them. So yeah, it is an absolute winner. And does it sound good? Yeah, sure. I mean, it sounds like all the sounds that you've got mixed through something, mixed together. I don't know. It doesn't. What I can say, it doesn't introduce a whole load of noise. It just sounds like it sounds. So I'm quite happy with that. There's no real hidden stuff, no hidden silly menus or weird digital bits and pieces going on. Yeah, it's really straightforward, compact, good sized, right size jacks, right size knobs, mute buttons, levels up, level down, auxiliary sends. Yeah, it's exactly right. And I could pop it in the ear rack if I wanted to. You know, I am thinking about the possibility of putting it in just a slightly larger case, like the 60 HP one, and just popping some effects in with it. So I've then got my mixing and effects system all within a little tray of its own, which doesn't have anything to do with the main system. I think that could be a way forward. Yeah. Oh, I've got that over there. Hey, well, never mind. Yeah. So that was a good question. Thank you, Tanuku D. Let's have a look down. Anything else? Anybody said anything interesting? Sounds like a lot of work. I get that a lot. Ken, effects modules, the Pico effects, Pico DSP. It's really good, right? Surprisingly good for a little module. You just kind of need 3 of them because you want to use all the different effects. What I would say with the Pico DSP is something I keep meaning to do is that you can get sort of a hack for it, which will let it take tip-top effects cards. You know, the DSP 5000 things or something, which, you know, are a next level again. But the DSP by itself, things like the reverb is great. The delays are great. They're really decent. Simple. We've got a couple of controls over everything. You know, I've used it a lot as a delay as much as anything. A tape delay, I think, is really good. I would even say it's absolutely in here right now, there. So I'm currently using it. I've now hit the button, so I don't know which effect I'm on anymore because it's color coded and I don't know what they are. Yeah, everything needs an up of darkness. A 5x5 matrix mixer works well for you. Cool, yeah. You talk about the mixer so it's clean. Yeah, I mean, you've got to understand that I'm running Eurorack through it. I mean, Eurorack is as noisy as heck, I would say. You know, we're not talking about pristine audio. I'm not trying to run, I don't know, a Pro Tools interface through it or something. No, I'm running crackly old oscillators and, you know, digital effects have got bits falling out of them and running it through a mixer. So cleanliness, not really, it's not something that I'm really listening to. I'm not listening for that because I don't, it's not a musical element that I'm interested in. I'm not interested in the cleanliness of the sound, the pristine quality of audio. I'm interested in sound and mood and melody and emotion, I think, more. I'm not trying to be awkward. I'm just saying that I couldn't really tell you. You mean, look at where I am. There's no environment here where the cleanliness or the accuracy of the audio is something that I can experience in this space. It's impossible. And so I've refused to let that trouble me, and I've moved on into appreciating other things about music. So the cleanliness of the signal is not one of those things that I worry about anymore. Other people do, I understand that, but that's not my experience here. And I think it would be, for me, very much a road to frustration in any piece of gear, you know. And it's cheap. Yes, bang on. Label all your cables. Yeah, I'd like to say I'd do that. Would I? I mean, it could do with a little scribble strip down here. That would be helpful, because I mean that's the one big downside of having a separate little case or separate little mixer, is that when you go to the gig, you've got to wire it up. You know, you can't take it patched unless you have some very, very clever way of doing that. So that is a thing. So I did, when I did my gig a few weeks ago, I had to go, right, this is going to here, and then this is going to that one, and this is going to that one. I mean, it reminds you where everything is and what everything is. So that's something. And also, you've not got 100 channels. You've got 6 or 7 channels, you know. So it's not going to be that hard. But yes, that's a factor, and that's definitely something which would benefit from some practice or some labels, as you say. I mean, I could do that. I mean, I could do different colours. It's just I really love these Erica Synths cables. I do. They're the best cables I've ever had. They're just so good. I love the hang of them, the weight of them, you know, how they feel, the way they connect. You know, really just good, reliable stuff. And I like the 3 colours that I use. Well, you know, so I'm prepared to accept the difficulties of dealing with working out what things are connected to. Do you know what I mean? Know what I mean? God, my pop-out chat keeps whacking all over the place. Ooh, hello. What? Oh. Doesn't been able to read during a live gig go against everything that the romantic aesthetic stands for. Yes. Yes. You must label the cables. All right, Andrew, I will. I'm sorry, mate. I didn't mean to upset you. I will endeavour to label the cables. But then that cable becomes fixed, and you know, I like my cables to be free from labels and definitions. They could be whoever they want to be. Is that a redshift? Yes. We could have a play of that if you like. What's going on? Get off. No, I don't want. Oh, go away. Duh. Thank you. Label the cables. My Volts cables seem nice. Do they? Good. I have a sprinkling of my Volts cables, not the useful patch cables. I've got one curly one, which is mono, which I don't know what I want that for. But my Volts generally I find quite confusing. I need to sit down at some point and work through them all and go, I don't really because my understanding of electronics is nuanced and deep in some areas, and then in the same breath I can completely just not understand any of it. And so when I'm trying to work out how is this powering this and how is this plugging into this, you know, I get I get a bit fuddled about it. So I need to work that out, and I need to do some more out and about mobile jamming. Would also be good. That's something I need to do more of. I have got my bike back out again, and it needs a little bit of battery itself. Funnily enough. Mo cables are good. I find them really chunky. I do myself. I got a Moog Studio thing sitting over there, which is another thing I should rent out, really. So these are Moog cables. They're just a bit big on this end for me, because I've got a lid that needs to go on my case and that kind of stuff, whereas these are the Erica ones, just for comparison. Do you see the difference there? Can you see that? Where's best? There we go. On my forehead. That's best. See them. So I can appreciate the Moog ones because in their own context, with their quite large synthesizers compared to Eurorack, they do the job. They feel very solid. But I find that in general usage, I definitely lean towards a thinner, smaller, more compact cables, particularly when it comes to using it in a case, which I then need to put a lid onto and hopefully leave it patched. Aren't I planning on doing something with Get Jarvis on a motorbikes? What? You've been eavesdropping or something? Yeah, funnily enough. Well, it's something that we talked about ages ago about, hey, let's ride to Superbooth, and it will be great because, we're easily as famous as Ewan McGregor and Charlie Boorman, easily. And there'll be no problem with, bike manufacturers to fall over themselves to give us bikes for that trip, don't you think? I think so. So, they didn't really get anywhere. I think I might have sent out an email to someone, to RGB, I think it was. But, it's so improbable, really. Trying to pitch this idea. Hey, yeah, we're a couple of motorcyclists, right? And we're synthesists as well. We like modular stuff, and we'd like to ride from somewhere in England to Berlin to go to a synthesizer show, and we'd like you to pay for it. I'd like you to give us motorcycles, and then we'll make a little video about it to our half a dozen subscribers, and we'll all get rich. Yeah, so it's not a great pitch. But it is a fun idea, I think. Fun idea being, not can you, of course you can. But the fun idea is to take an electric motorbike, of which there aren't that many, to be fair. An electric bike with a battery-powered modular system. Drive along, stop, play a gig, charge it up, obviously. Drive along, play a gig, and end up arriving at Superbooth and having perhaps a booth there where the motorcycle manufacturer could sell their awesome motorcycles, and ride into there and do a gig. So it would make for a nice video. It'd be a nice bit of an adventure. It'd only be like, I don't know, a week's worth of something or other. I think that could be fun. I think that might be interesting. And me and Jason are, not camera shy and easygoing enough to pull something off, I think that'd be great. So if anybody out there knows like a bike shop or a bike manufacturer that would like to get on board with this, just get in touch. That would be brilliant. We'd do it. Absolutely do it. Not this year, obviously, but preparing for next year. That would be great. I think that would be super. I mean, electric bikes ideally, because that just fits in nicely with the idea of performing modular on batteries and battery power, and you could potentially run it off your bike. See what I'm saying? That fits in nicely. Doesn't have to be that. It could be a whacking great big petrol monster bike. That would also be fine, and we'll spin a different story about it. Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure Look Mum No Computer would, but we're talking about motorbikes, not as opposed to electric bicycles. I hope that distinction is clear. I'm not looking to half pedal my way to Berlin. No, I'm looking to go on a nice motorcycle. My motorcycle's fine. Of course, I've got an Enfield Interceptor, which is a great little bike, and it goes all right, but I could probably last in the saddle for about an hour or so before I need to have a break and yet another coffee. Toman could sponsor it. Yeah, maybe. To be honest, Jason is much better at that kind of thing than I am. I'm rubbish at acquiring stuff. I mean, not to say that people don't send me stuff. People do. But I very rarely reach out and ask for stuff because I feel so embarrassed about that whole idea. And so this is the reason why that I'm not a successful YouTuber, is because I have terrible trouble asking for stuff, asking for money or that sort of thing. It's difficult. I find it immensely rubs me up the wrong way. It's not the way I think. I'm this stupidly naive believer in that how good work should just be rewarded. You don't have to go and pursue rewards for things. People should go, that's a good idea, that's a good job, I'm going to go and help him with that. Whereas Jason, he was, would pick up the phone and call anybody, say, give me stuff, and they do, because he's really good at that. So that's why it's fantastic to have him on board. Yeah. Do any of them have the option to plug into 240 AC? Running your synths off the EV bike would be cool. Yeah. I mean, I have to assume that an electric bike would have a USB socket on it at the very least. Because you don't necessarily need 240 volts. You need one of those MyVolts cables again in order to convert everything right. I mean, when I took my rig outside to the beach and did some filming on that, I was just using a power bank. I was running it off because these sorts of things don't run off mains. They run off a laptop supply type thing. So all this is accepting is 20 volts or 12 volts or something in between those two. It's not 240 volts going directly into here. It might do on some other cases if you've got an internal power supply, but for this, it just needs laptop juice type power. And that's far easier to sort out battery-wise, and probably could run off an electric motorbike. Get in touch with Sladersleden. Oh, BMW. Yeah, I mean the amount of electric bikes out there, motorbikes, is very small. Sadly, I mean there's the Harley, of course, that Long Way Up took. Ewan and Charlie took. There's the RGB or RBG. Hang on, let me just find that. RGB. RGB doesn't sound right. RBT motorbike. Who are they? Men's clothing? No, that's not right. No, that's not it. I'll have to ask AI or something. Electric motorcycle. Doopy-doopy-doo. Because most of them are not that impressive. Most of them, no one's really come up, other than the Harley, no one has come up with anything particularly awesome. Oh, look, I can get one. I get a motorcycle for 640 quid from AliExpress. Apparently it's electric. Maving. Yeah. No, they're nice looking, but they're not. I don't think they're long distance bikes. Frank! Wow. Thank you, mate. That's much appreciated. So yeah, I keep an eye on this. The Mavens are are quite nice. There's the zero motorcycles, but most electric motorcycles are really focused on the commuter, on in and about town, and you kind of need a level up from that. Do like the Super Succos and things like that, just not quite meaty enough, or they just don't go far enough. Because that Maving Army RM1 is a nice looking thing. Didn't Zero go bust, did they? Oh. Damn it, there's like obviously it's Swedish or Dutch or something that makes these great bikes. I'm trying to remember what they're called. It's R something. RB RG RGNT, there we go. Yeah, RGNT motorcycles. They're the closest. I mean, obviously you're waiting for Triumph to come up with one, or BMW to come up with one, and I can't quite believe that they haven't done yet. It seems bonkers to me, or even Enfield for that matter. So yeah, the RGNT Turbo, 10 grand it is. Woo! Does 120 kilometers per hour, range of 150k. You kind of want cruising speed. They do a Purple Rain or a Black Thunder. I mean, that sounds perfect. That's what we want. 0 to 104 seconds. Don't know that we want that. It's fun, it says. Yeah, they don't seem to have a UK outlet. So if anybody knows anybody at this place, tell them to get in touch. It would be brilliant. It'd be excellent. And they should have a stand at Superbooth so that we have somewhere to park. Yeah, that's very deep. Right. Leather jacketed synthesists is what the scene needs. Yeah, game changer. Yeah, they could sponsor it, possibly. I mean, talking to Gertz again at Erica Synths, he's been working on an electric bike himself, but it's a labour of love. It's a bit like my Deckard's dream. It's hardly ever going to see the light of day. But they're big bikers over in Latvia. Anyway, it's a great idea. I could talk about this all night, but it's a little bit off topic from that end of things. Where are we? Look, we're almost an hour in. Well, it's been nice. I've just been chatting. So what else was we going to talk about? Oh yeah, I wanted to talk about we talked about this a lot last month, and of course I've got nowhere since. So we're going to have another little talk about it, which is this radio show idea, which I still think is a goer. As madcap ideas go, it's all right. It could be something. It could be useful. Useful in terms of giving opportunity to promote people's work and artistry and music and name and all those sorts of things, but also hopefully to create an interesting show that people want to watch and people want to subscribe to, and then they'll help me with my general viewer figures and fame and all that kind of stuff. Now the problem that we talked about last time was how do you do a radio show? I mean, radio show in inverted commas. How do you do a radio show on YouTube without getting slapped with copyright and monetization problems? And it's a good question, and it's not a question that I've fully resolved necessarily. There was a guy, and I'm sorry I haven't got back to you. I think it was Ian. I don't know if you're here this evening, who had or either runs a record company or runs something around which all their artists are not on YouTube, so they don't have content IDs for their tracks, and so I could play those potentially, because the problem is that you need to have uncopyrighted material essentially for YouTube, or you just get into trouble. And so in order to make this work, the realization I've come to is that essentially it has to be a radio show of unreleased materials. Now, one way of looking at that's really, really quite exciting. That's a and it has an exclusivity about it. But on the other hand, it means that is always going to be sort of unfinished tracks. It's not going to be your best work necessarily, because you're saving that for the album. But then, is that a problem? No, because we're talking about weirdo electronic music anyway, so what the heck does it matter? Who's going to notice? So it's still a great idea. I think I don't necessarily want to get into the idea of reviewing people's music, because who the heck am I? I mean, obviously I can express an opinion and probably will, but I don't want it to be a place where people can get, bad comments or trashed or anything. That's not what I'm interested in. I'm much more interested in giving people an opportunity to be heard rather than have an opportunity to be criticised, if you see what I mean. So I think to start with, the plan will be, you just got to, this is the thing, you've just got to start stuff. If you think about it for too long or think about it forever, nothing ever gets done. You've just got to give stuff a go. And so I think I'm going to give this a go. So it will be on YouTube. It will just be like, I think I've penciled in like a Tuesday night. I think realistically, I'm not going to get it done this week. I might be able to do a couple of tests, because I want to be able to do it in the house. I want to be able to just sort of sit down with a beer and the dog and be in a slightly nicer environment than I am here, and put some tunes on and, sit there and experience them, and perhaps talk about them, or talk about the gear that's being used or the artist or whatever, and spend an hour or two listening to interesting music, forcing myself to listen to interesting music. I think there's a lot in that. And I've got to sit up with the dog anyway, because if we put the dog to bed too early, it gets up too early. So we have to put the dog to bed late. I'm a dog parent now, you see. I don't know what I'm doing. So I'm up anyway. So I'm up sitting around. So why don't I use that time to do more effectively? And then of course, there's all sorts of other things that throw themselves in, like how do you make that work? How do you physically do it? How do you broadcast these tracks? I don't want to be using vMix as I do here on my laptop in the house. I just want to be using something simple like OBS. Not that that's particularly simple, but something easy. I just want to be able to load up the tracks, press play, and have something going on. Now, okay, here's a question for you. What would you like to have on screen, assuming that this is a radio show on YouTube, right? Because YouTube is where my largest audience is, so it makes sense to have it on there. It also means we can do chat and things like this, which are very easy. I know how to do that. But you don't really want to sit there looking at my face in this sort of way while there's 20 minutes of a track playing and I'm just going. I don't think you want that. What would you like to see? Because at the moment I've installed an old copy of Winamp, because the Milk Drop visualizer on Winamp is probably the best thing I've ever seen ever. I've never come across anything that's as good as that. And so I thought, well, I could just load up Winamp, right? And I could load the tracks in Winamp and then just have the visualizer as a screen capture that's then being broadcast out while the music's playing. Perhaps with a little corner of me just to keep it personal, Would that work? What do you think? Or should I be doing something more creative with the sound and the visuals? Or does it matter? Should it just be blank? Improvised sets. Yeah. Well, it depends what you mean. I wasn't hoping to do anything live. It will be pre-recorded. The music will be just playable tracks. I'm not going to be like inviting a live stream in from somebody else in order to perform, and it's just too complicated. I want it to be pure radio of playing of records. Ideally, what I'd like to do is sit surrounded by vinyl and put them on, but that's not possible, because the best thing about that was that I'd get people to send me vinyl, which is a genius idea, but of course it would all be copyright and that wouldn't work. So that would be just too difficult, too difficult to do. So I mean, the only way it's to work is to do it for unreleased tracks or someone who's just thrown together a jam. So if you're a modular artist or a synthesizer artist, electronic artist in any sort of way, you could throw together something, send it in to me, and I'd bloody play it. I'd play it. I'd stick a link in there and everything. That's the plan. That's how it's supposed to work. And of course there would be chat. There's going to be the possibility of people commenting on your music, which is all right. It's okay to comment. I'm not looking for criticism as such, but it's all right to comment and say, oh, that was nice, or oh, that was a bit dodgy. That sort of thing is probably enough. I think that would be all right. The idea is that we come together and listen to music, and yeah, we do talk about it. I think that's okay. I will certainly say something. I don't know how well that'll go yet. So anyway, yeah, I might try a few tests over the next week or so of just trying to work out how is best to broadcast it. And did anyone have any thoughts in here? I wanted to ask. Yeah. I could paint in the background, yeah. Tie a tambourine, yeah. I don't know that this is working. You're rubbish, you lot. No point trying to crowdsource an idea off this bunch of jokers. Original music created especially for the show, possibly, but that's a bit of an ask, Yeah, I mean that would be something. I mean, if the idea is that this is obviously going to get out to all of my 54,000 subscribers who will listen to it, no doubt. If you're trying to get music out to there, then to do something quite good and special would be great. I'm just not assuming that people would necessarily produce a new track just for that show. I'm also trying not to worry about what happens down the line if they then want to release that track and what impact that has on copyright, etc. I don't know. Maybe I will start, sucking the monetization off their release. I don't know. I don't know how these things work. It's all a fantasy land. It's all fantasy. I mean, people could send me videos. Yeah, Frank, that's fair enough. People could send me videos. I don't want that to be a criteria necessarily, because what I find with that sometimes is that the audio is terrible because people record things on their phone and then send it, and that's not really ideal. You want it recorded as well as possible, referring back to my earlier comments on pristine audio not being necessary. It's not, but I don't want something shot on an iPhone. I don't mind the video quality. It's the sound quality that I'm talking about. But yeah, I mean, open to it all, really. So, I mean, assuming that some people could send me video, then again, as I say, I'm just trying to have some kind of visualization in between that. So maybe, if no one's got any super duper bright ideas, well, then maybe I should do what I thought of, which is the Winamp thing. Is that simple enough? Yeah, I mean, I have concerns, of course. Just trying to think. Because I do all my live streaming here in the shed, and I'm going through vMix, which is a relatively posh piece of broadcast software, going into a hardwired network for release on the internet, whereas I'll be doing it on a laptop with a crappy laptop camera. I've got a GH5 Lumix camera here. I've got a C3000 microphone. C1000? What is this again? I can't remember. Got an AKG microphone. Are all my production values going to drop through the floor by doing it in the house, or am I kidding myself with all of this gear that actually any of that matters a toss? I don't know. Again, these are things to consider. Yeah, I still think it's a good idea. Now, someone did suggest last time that I go and seek out local radio, which I did, to no avail whatsoever. There's a local radio station to me called Poppyland, which operates out of Cromer, which is 15 miles from here, I think. And they've got shows of all sorts of bits and pieces and stuff. And I went to the website and they said, hey, if you'd like to propose a show, fill out this form. So big online Google form thing. I filled it all out, wrote lots of stuff about myself and the things that it would be doing and how awesome it would be and all that kind of stuff. Filled it out, explained what the show, the concept, the idea, the night of the week I wanted, sent it off. Didn't hear a thing, didn't hear a word. Waited a week or so and then sent them a couple of emails going, oi, I did a thing. Nothing at all. So I'm just assuming that's no good. So I'm going to go with what we first thought of, which is the YouTube unreleased tracks. Give it a go. So if you want to send me stuff, this is when I get a whole load of spammy stuff. I should create a form, I think, that I can send you, because I think it's useful to have a bit of information about the track, the gear that you used, your intention, and links to your stuff. All of that would be good to have beforehand rather than having to keep asking you for it. So I'll produce a form that you can fill in and submit a track, and we'll go from there. Can't promise I'll play everybody's stuff because it could be there for hours and hours and hours and hours. But I think 1 to 2 hours. Try not to have anything more than 10 minutes long, which doesn't mean it has to be 10 minutes. It could be 2 minutes. You need to give things a chance to grow and evolve, I find, in this sort of music. So, it's got to be a goer, I think. It's just there's the tired part of me which just goes, oh God, not another thing. Why are you doing another thing? Why do another thing? You've got enough on. But I like it because I want to listen. I like it because I want to listen myself. I want to be able to spend time and do it. I have a chunk of time which I'm currently wasting on waiting for the dog to fall asleep. That I could be sitting back and listening to something and creating some content at the same time, which is ultimately what I'm supposed to be doing as a content creator. I've also set up I've just reignited my podcast credentials. So the last Molten Monthly is actually available as a podcast through places like Apple and Podbean. And this radio show will go out on that as well. Probably after the event, not live. I'm not sure if I'm clever enough to work that out. So we'll do it on YouTube. Then I can pull the audio off, stick it up as a podcast, and maybe that would be something that could get a wider appeal. That would be the plan, I think. That would be the plan. Yeah, cool. I mean, that's the thing. After a few weeks, it would actually build up into a few hours of listening, wouldn't it? Which then begs the question, why not do it every day? Do it every day. I don't think there's enough of us. Oh, what's the time? Oh, okay. No, we're all right. We're all right. Probably 9:30. I think I need to knock it on the head tonight. So, because that's when the dog needs sorting out. My life is run by this blooming dog now. I was just getting things together, man. I was just pulling it together, thinking, for the last half of my life, I was just finally starting to understand how the world works, and then you just get a puppy and it all goes sideways. Form was a good idea. Thank you. Yeah. They do. I mean, the dog needs 18 hours of sleep a day. But will it? It's like I've sat her down and gone, look, 18 hours you're supposed to be asleep. Now, at this time, at this particular moment, you're supposed to be asleep. And the dog goes, oh, Well, I never knew that. I better go and have some sleep then. And she nips over there and goes, nah. And then she doesn't. So life at the moment is a careful balance of trying to get her to sleep. Otherwise she goes nuts. If she doesn't get enough sleep, she just goes nuts. And that's fun for a couple of times, and then it's no longer fun. And what you don't want is a whining, barking dog at 5 o'clock in the morning. You know, you want one. Well, you don't want one at all, but you want it to get through to the morning at the very least. So I don't want her to go to bed too early in the evening. I could do a whole channel on flipping puppies. I really could. That industry needs some talking to, because there's so many people out there trying to stiff you for sorting out your dog. It's just amazing, absolutely amazing. It's just a huge industry I've discovered in my looking, and it's so difficult to navigate and hard to find the truth about these things. Yeah, are they a person's best friend? Haha, yes. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, what it is worse than bringing up kids is better. What it's worse is there's pros and cons. Essentially, you're getting everything is speeded up. You know, your kids take a whole year before it moves very much, really. Whereas you get that accelerated tenfold through the puppy. So lots of stuff going on. Constant energy. But somewhere in there, it's fun. I mean, it's a brilliant thing. It's a totally brilliant thing. Don't get me wrong. I seem to be on a huh. I'm sorry. Bent over. Let me go. Put my arm up there a little bit. So, all right. So the radio thing, I'm going to continue to pursue that. I'll do some tests to see if I can get to work out the best way of doing that. And then I'll get a form out there, and you can send me all your shit, and I'll stuck it up, and we'll listen to it and go, I think he probably should have used a Salem key filter at that point. Will there be jingles? Oh, good question. Yeah, nice question. I mean, I do have my poor old worn out jingle that I use on my Molten Monthly. That just works really well, and I can't quite have the heart to change it. So I could use that. I don't know. I mean, I could use the piece of stuff I use at the beginning and end of this. Ooh. Or I could make up some really cheesy 80s style radio bits, skits. No, there's just too much room for parody. That's the thing. It's good to be self-aware and to not take things too seriously, but also taking the piss out of yourself the whole time. I'm gonna devalue what you're trying to do, I think. The hottest tracks. Yeah, I mean, there is a potential for guests and things like that. It's just more complicated. You know, trying to keep things simple so they are doable. Once you're zooming other people in, and you know, it gets complicated. But I think if it's the sort of thing which, if it seems successful and if people like it and it has viewers, then that's perhaps something that we can certainly think of. It's not going to be on an FM frequency. 96.5 FM. Also available on medium wave 105.2. Nice, thank you for that. No, 432, surely 432. Thank you. So, last subject then. We're not going to get into playing anything this evening, I don't think. but I seem to have been talking, so it must have been an awesome show. Superbooth then. So I flip-flopped about Superbooth a lot. Basically because, I mean, this time last year I absolutely could not afford it. And I assumed the same this year, which is true. I can't afford it because it ends up costing $1,000. Whatever you do, it costs $1,000 at the very least. And that's like, cool. I don't know that I have that. But it's also a brilliant event. And sometimes it's worth investing in yourself in these sorts of things and getting out there and meeting people face to face. So I had a couple of things that all sort of came together at once. One was Schreider Maschine, I will get that right one of these days, has been building some cases for me, these little cases, excuse me. And they're now ready, which is brilliant. Lavandale was saying that she wanted, what are we going to do? Is she going to send them to me? Am I going to pick them up or whatever? And I thought, the last thing I need is to have these things broken en route before I've even had a chance to sort that out. And so I felt that if I went to Superbooth, I could pick them up and take them home on the plane, and that might be a bit of a safer way to do it. It would save on the courier charges. That would be a little bit of money taken off the price of going to Superbooth in order to make that slightly better. There's a couple of other people also that are going to be giving me some bits and pieces that I can pick up there at the show, which is brilliant. And so again, it saves postage and potential import taxes, and if I can run it through customs without anybody noticing, that could be a positive thing. So that's a good rebate on the cost of going. So that's good. The other thing is that in years gone by, I took my eldest many years ago. The first time I went, second time I went, maybe first time I went to Superbooth. I took my eldest when he was about 12, 13, I think, and he had an interesting time. And then a few years later, I took my middle son along, and we actually stayed in Berlin a bit longer because he wanted to look out some David Bowie bits and pieces because he was massively into Bowie at the time. And so we did that, which was great. And now it's really my daughter's turn, and she's just turned 13. And I think it would be a real shame if I'm not able to take her at some point. And I need to do it sooner rather than later because one is just, I'm assuming that at any moment she's going to flip into a sort of a sullen, I don't know, something will change and she won't want to spend that sort of time with me. So I want to grab the opportunity of spending time with her because she's fabulous. It goes without saying that she's awesome, and I want to spend time with her while I can. And so I wanted to grab that opportunity and take her along so that she gets her chance to do that, and we get to spend some time together on planes and in Berlin. So that was the biggest reason for going, really, if anything else. And then I again looked at the money and went, "Oh no, this is never going to work." And then thought, "Sod it, let's push through, make it work. We'll somehow make it work." Might have to sell a few bits or something, but it doesn't matter. It's worthwhile, I think. It's worthwhile. So yeah, so all we're doing is because she's at school, obviously, and because we're trying to keep the costs under control, we're just going to go out Friday night. We're going from Norwich Airport, which is fantastic. Fly from your local airport. Don't go via London airports if you can help it, because the ease with which you can fly through a local airport is just, it transforms the flying experience into a completely different thing. However, you do have to go via Amsterdam, and you have to sit in Amsterdam for a couple of hours. So that's the trade-off. Because if you go via Stansted, which you would normally, the flights will be cheaper. It will be direct 2 hours to Berlin, more or less. But you'll have to get there at least 2 hours early. You'll have to queue for an hour to get through security. And then on the way back, you have to queue at least for an hour just to get through customs. And you're British. Through a British airport, Stansted is ridiculous. You get stood in this enormous hangar in a snake trying to get through the automatic, super speedy electronic passport reader machines, which are, They take 5 times longer than a human being. It's ridiculous. If you go via Norwich, don't have to do any of that because you're the only person on the plane, and you turn up and there's a bloke asleep in his office, and you wave your passport going, "What?" And he goes, "Yeah, all right, mate, no worries, yeah, no, come on, you are." Or rather, I go, "Ar," and he goes, "Ar." Yeah, sorry, got to get my accent, got to get me coding right. And you're done, and you're through in seconds, and the plane like landed just next to the car park, and you get back in your car and off you go. It's fantastic. It's a bit more expensive, but it's absolutely worth it. I'm not having to pay for parking, not having to pay for the petrol to get there, all those kinds of things. Blah, 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 blah. So yeah, support your local airport is what I'm saying. So that's what I'm doing. So we're flying out Friday night. I'm going to grab her from school. We'll get to the airport about half an hour before it leaves, because that's just how it is. But that won't be a problem, as I say, because you just walk through there, and then you're there. So we'll fly it to Berlin, get to Berlin late. We're going to stay in a hotel at Berlin airport because, why the hell not? Because we're not going to go out and see anything, because we won't be getting into about sort of 10, 11 o'clock at night. So we'll have our hotel experience, and then breakfast, and then we'll get a cab to Fez Berlin, run around that for the day, on the Saturday, and then in the evening we've got like a 6:45 flight home, so I have to get back to the airport probably 4:30, 5 o'clock, something like that, which seems achievable because everything quietens down sort of in the late afternoon on the Saturday. At least that's been my experience previously. And so everyone's packing up and going home. So there it is, and we're flying back in the evening. We get back into Norwich at about 10 o'clock at night and go home. Job done. So that is going to be my Superbooth Saturday. Should be fun. And I hope Nancy enjoys it one way or another. I think it's interesting in some ways. I mean, obviously I'm going to be talking to people and ignoring her most of the time. But no. I mean, I'm there to talk to people and meet people. And so she is going to have to sort of hang out to some degree. But, we'll get pretzels and maybe a T-shirt and have a bit of a laugh poking around stuff. It should be good. I'm really looking forward to it, I think. It's like a break from the dog, which I need. So anybody else going? What do you want to see? What time is it? I'm running out of time. And anything that I need to go and see, basically, because I'm only there for a small amount of time. I'm not going to go and try and check out every single piece of gear I want to see. But is there anything in particular that I should go and see? Tell me now. I hate Stansted so much. I really do. Because it's the worst thing. It's like you've landed, you've come back off holiday, you've landed, or a business trip as I have. You landed at Stansted. It's like, oh yeah, and you're just sitting there waiting to get, you're then crawling off the aircraft. You finally get there, you can stand up and get your bits out, and you get out, and then you go, you walk for miles, so it seems, and then you finally feel like you're getting somewhere, and you've got to do this flipping passport thing. It just drives me nuts. It's just the most ridiculous exercise in how we are a crap as a nation in doing things like this, in using technology effectively that's supposed to help us, and it really, really doesn't. It really does not help us. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. Frap tools, yeah. Interesting. I will look that up. PPG. I mean, there was a PPG module that those crazy guys did. Who are those crazy guys? Oh, it'll come to me in a minute. No, I probably won't. I have done it in a day. Yeah, I mean, go from City Airport. It's brilliant. City Airport. It's a great little airport. I have worked at City Airport, I'll have you know, back in the day. Worked there in a blizzard. But Yeah, I mean, I have done it in the past. I've got on an early flight into Berlin on the Saturday, on the one day, or some other day of the week. I think I might have done as well. You go in, spend the day, and you fly out. It is absolutely possible. It's not. It's a bit hasty because there is a lot of waiting around you have to do, but it is definitely possible to do. Fractals, Magnolia, and PPG. Okay. Do you think Teenage Engineering are going to have something new? Yeah. Maybe. I have no clue at all. I mean, I just did my Molten Monthly where I was searching around for bits of news, and because I'm not in the news game, but except for once a month now, I do feel a little bit out of touch with what's going on. I often get surprised by things I have to learn about. So there could be stuff. There could be stuff coming out. I mean, I do know of one or two things. I am privy to a few releases that are coming along. One of which, particularly, I think is a really interesting one. Yeah. No, Steve definitely does have a lot of stuff like that. But I'm not actually doing a radio show, if you understand me. I'm just sort of doing this, but we're playing tunes. If I was actually doing it in a studio where you have to do that sort of thing, then that would be a lot more relevant, I think. Okay, so I'm going to sort of start thinking about bringing this to a bit of a close. Oh, now would be a good time to insert ads, says YouTube. God damn it. So that's funny. I should do more ads. Anything? Let me just finish my. Oh God, I got half. I hardly drank this at all. So no, I think that's about it. So I've got lots of videos, bits and pieces coming up, lots of reviews and DIY, lots of stuff to do. Some stuff that's very pressing that I'm frustrated about that I haven't been able to had a chance to finish yet. I've got the rental ideas and little system ideas coming up soon. I'm going to get into that. The radio show coming up soon. Yeah, lots of things to get stuck into. If anyone else has any madcap money making ideas, and do let me know. I'll be up for anything. No, I think that's about it. Yeah, any last questions? Otherwise, we'll call it a night. I should do ads for my mugs. I should, There you go. There's a thing to talk about. 6 months ago or something, I had this brilliant idea that I was going to shift all my merchandise onto Etsy because it seemed like a fun, groovy place. Etsy, all these crafty people doing crafts, and there was some t-shirt making place that where you could just stick your designs on, and it looked great and all that kind of thing. So I thought, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. I got a bit creative. I invested a whole load of time in producing some new designs and try some things out, and found some products and set up this shop. And I've not had a single sale. Not one. Not a single thing. I mean, I don't have sales in my other shop. Don't get me wrong. My original Teespring shop, since the original launch, where I had a little splattering of orders, which was great. Thanks very much, everybody. I haven't really had anything since. And but this Etsy one, absolute zero. And the most annoying thing about it is that they keep charging you. So I appreciate that there's a bit of a charge for uploading, placing a product into your shop. Perhaps I can understand that. But after 3 months, you need to pay it again. I was not aware of that. Everything sort of discontinues itself, and then it's like, oh, hang on, everything's no longer up. And so you have to put it up again. Oh, we'd really like to charge you again for that. And you go, oh, so this is a scam. That's what this is. So yeah, I'm going to go in search of a new merchandising place, because I've not been, I mean, the mugs were good, yeah, but I've not been particularly happy with the turnaround time that Teespring do. Even asking for a sample, it seems to take 2 months to get a t-shirt, and that's just not right. Not right at all. So I'm going to have another look into some alternative suppliers of merchandise, and then again, work on some new designs. I've had some ideas, but I've not really got there. I mean, this was a new take on a Molten Modular, this way up, Molten Modular something or other logo-y kind of thing, just to think about things differently. But you can spend your life trying to design the perfect t-shirt, that's for sure. Bandcamp can sell merch. Oh, can it? Rental portal. Yeah, I have considered every application of advertising for the channel, and as I spoke about this before, I'm not very good at reaching out and grabbing stuff. I have said many times that that I have the Molten Monthly is there to be advertised upon if people would like to advertise upon it. I would absolutely love to have sponsorship of those things. That would be great. I'm quite happy to stick an advert at the front of the show, at the end of the show, or halfway through the show. Whatever it is, that would be fine. That would be fine. I'm absolutely open to it. We had this nice little band that sent me 50 quid, and I stuck their logo on the website, and I stuck their music at the front of the Molten Monthly and things like that, and that was great. And I've left it on there for 6 months because no one else has come forward to say they'd like to fill that slot. So I don't know how it works. I guess you spend your time phoning people up and saying, please advertise on me. I don't know. I am absolutely open to these things. I just don't know how to do it and don't have the time to work out how to do it, other than say yes to people who would like to, So there you go. There is a mission at Superbooth. Yeah, I mean, funny enough, I spoke about affiliates on the Molten Monthly. How I got on board with Gear for Music, which is great. I like Gear for Music. I buy stuff from them quite regularly. I know some of the people who work there, so I'm quite happy to be associated with them. But they're on an affiliate system where they've got hundreds and hundreds of different shops and places and brands and all sorts of stuff on there that you can sign up to. So I did poke or sign up for Joe Brown's, which is where I get all my shirts from. Most of my shirts, not all my shirts, most of my shirts from. But would they reply? No, bloody hell not. I could be selling shirts like by the dozen, and that ain't working. Yeah, beer. Yeah, absolutely. Could be beer. Yeah. Will I be... Wow, that's a sideways question. Will I be reviewing the Stochastic Strange Arm module? Yes and no. As in, yes, absolutely. I would love to. I've spoken to Finn about it many times, and and yeah, I intend to. He's not 100% sure whether he wants it reviewed or not, which is interesting, because I think these projects are very close to their hearts, and there's a certain amount of difficulty in putting that out there for criticism when you're not really sure that, I'm not sure I'm trying to say, other than getting something reviewed is a risky business. On the one hand, you could get lavish with praise, which is going to be awesome for your sales. On the other hand, you might get criticized to the point that people don't want your product. And it's a risk when you put something out to review, particularly something from Stochastic where, and with the inspiration generator, it's a difficult module. It absolutely is a difficult module. It's a fun, beautiful module, but it's multi-layered and difficult. And the Strange R similarly is difficult. I have to say that he's done a great job on putting together some videos that seem to explain the Strange R really well. But it is dense and multi-layered and potentially difficult. So yeah, I hope to. I mean, they keep not quite finishing it or something or other, but also they want to produce modules for people, for paying customers. They don't want to just keep giving them away to idiots like me. You know, they've got to deal with real people and real situations. So hopefully, yes, I will. If they have the courage to send it in, then absolutely yes, I will be reviewing it. Yeah, UI and workflow, exactly. Etsy saying they want to charge you £15 for delivery. That can't be right. I don't know. I'm going to knock this Etsy thing on the head. It seemed like a really great idea. I have a friend, someone I know actually, who became a bit of a master of Etsy, and she was saying that you need to have 100 products in order to get visibility on Etsy. You know, from in searches and things like that. If you have 100 products, that's what you need to get yourself elevated to any kind of result, which is interesting. But I don't think I can come up with 100 products. Oh dear. £5 tax, just brilliant, Ken. Yeah, it's a whole big fat waste of time. Yeah. Organising shows is difficult. It's hard work. It requires a lot of goodwill from people, and that's something which you need to treat very carefully and valuably. It's very, very valuable and precious, and making. We've got a very special combination of things going on in Norwich that allows us to make the Synthes show what it is, and with some special relationships with certain people, just allows it to be smoother and simpler than most shows I've seen. I've been behind the scenes at Synthfest and seen how stressful it is trying to get all of that working and off the ground. And I think we're very fortunate. I think it's difficult. Similar with the guitar and synth show as well. Behind the curtain on that is really stressful. And I don't want that. I don't want stress. Syntheaster's, it's a little bit stressful, but I think we've got it really easy because we have such a great bunch of people, and it's a good idea. It's a solid idea. We're not trying to sell stuff. We're not trying to, make a profit or anything like that. We're just trying to put on a nice event with great things and a fun time. And that's, I think, why that works. I think, I kind of see us as the equivalent of NobCon in the States. That seems to be their vibe. Suit and tie guys really just trying to have a good time. And that's definitely our vibe, I think. Yeah. Nice. Anyway, I keep droning on, and I need to get back to the house because I need to take over looking after the dog. In a year or so, apparently the dogs don't cease to be any trouble. They just sort of look after themselves. We're still 6 months away from that. Ken, that's just crazy. Maybe it depends on where you are. Where are you, Ken? You're probably somewhere up north, aren't you? So that's probably going to be it. Mm. Although it does depend on the mug. Because some of the mugs, and this wasn't very clear either, some of the mugs are US only. Some of the mugs are made in Europe. So you might potentially be choosing a mug that's made in the US, which is why it costs so much. So if you're choosing one of the Magic ones, apparently they're US only. I don't know, it did not make that clear at all when I was putting that together. That might be it. Oh, well, yeah, that follows. So, yeah, I imagine that's it. I imagine that's the problem. If you try one of the other mugs, then you might have better luck. Well, great. Look, thanks for spending time with me this evening. Sorry I didn't do anything more interesting than just talk, but evidently that's something that I needed to do to get all those things off my chest, and it's been useful for me to talk these things through. So I appreciate that. If you are at Superbooth next week on the Saturday, don't feel shy or afraid or worried about coming and saying hello. Please don't spend, please don't. Talk at me for a whole hour or something. I'm only there for the day. I've got a lot of things to see, but please come and say hello and have a quick chat. That would be brilliant. I'd love that. Tell me who you are, because I won't remember from last time if I saw you. So just come and say hello. I'll be delighted to meet and say hi to anybody. Anyone who would like to spend some time in my aura or something or other. Yes, no, that'd be great. Come and say hello. That's fantastic. I'd love that, because as I say, I can be a bit awkward and shy at these sorts of events, and I really appreciate people being friendly. That does me good. That does. So if you're there, do come and say hi and tell me the wonderful things that you've seen, and that will be great. Hopefully the weather will be good. I will see you there. And then after that, I've got endless videos and exciting things to do, and I'll keep updated on the radio thing. It will just probably splurge and it will happen. It will just sort of kind of have to happen. So, but I will get a form done. That's the thing I'm going to do. Try to get that done this week. Get that out there. See what happens. Yeah. 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 So yeah, cool. Thanks for tuning in. And if I can find the right button, I'll put a thing up. What is the right button? Is it that button? Could be. Yeah, I'll go with that. So cheers. And in the meantime, go make some tunes.